Good. All our go buttons are hit.
All our go buttons are good.
We're going to have all kinds of good audio.
Yep.
Nice.
Happy times.
Happy times.
We are. You want to clap?
Yeah, that was good.
Did that pop?
Yeah, pop.
All right. Meagan Gardner, you're back.
I'm back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime, man.
So damn fun.
Yeah.
J&L Harley, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Let's get the plug in there.
Yep. Come by bike.
Come by bike. We better look at what a trade-in on the Road Glide is. But did you see I put that on the market?
No.
I threw it out there with a make me sell it price. And
really?
free up a little fishing money and some space in the garage.
Okay.
But turns out 15 below is not a good time to get rid of your Road Glide.
Yeah.
Blizzard conditions. A couple guys actually did the laughing face at it. It's like, and you got your hair cut.
Yep. Decided
Looks
it was
good.
time for a change, and 10 minutes to do your hair versus an hour is kind of a big deal.
I'm thinking about growing mine back out.
Yeah.
Get the mop going again. It was kind of fun.
Yeah. I was gonna say you had longer hair when I met you.
Oh yeah, you could pull the front down to about here. It was
because I remember when you cut it the first time you came in, and I was like, what happened to you?
Yeah, and I was riding, and I was just finding all these ways to tame it. And then, backwards hat or a bandana or something. I thought, no. One of the inspirations was this guy in Laguna Beach. There was this really crazy group of Irish guys, and they were all in construction.
Yeah.
And the last one I got to meet, he was a Harley rider, and he had wild big hair. Mm-hmm. And he just let it buck when he was riding. I thought, that's the way I started going. It was so fun. You just look psycho. It's fun. So I might grow it out again.
Yeah. We'll see.
It's easy.
It's going to be...
just let her go.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how this works out for the summer, because it's not quite long enough to put up anymore.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
right.
like, okay, it's either going to have to go like just a little bit shorter in the back so it's up off my neck, or I'm going to have to let it grow out a few more inches again so I can put it up. But,
Modifications you do for riding.
My husband likes it. That's all that matters,
This shirt. I had cut the sleeves off of this one for riding and get a little sun. And I was just getting my ass kicked by the collar. So off came the collar. Anyway. So maybe not bikes this time.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that. I know I was thinking about that on my way in. I was like, and there's so much new stuff that I'm like, but I talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know. I've got ideas in mind, but now that brings up something else. My intro, I have an intro idea.
Okay.
And now that I'm saying it out loud, now I have to do it.
Right.
But gonna have to get that garage floor dried out. But real close up shot, maybe my front spokes, Dyna. Real tight, close shot, and panning across my now turning trademark boots. Yeah. And my motor, and then back wheel with the front wheel up against the wall.
Yeah.
And then just let that clutch go.
Yeah.
Just like an 8-second intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I dig it.
I'm loving it. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
It's a simple one. So.
Cool.
Writing, you had mentioned that one time. You like writing.
So I got linked up. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember how this even transpired. Okay. So I was living in Phoenix, and I was working for Trask Performance. And they do, they're actually one of the top performance shops in the country. They literally call their dyno tuner the Wizard. And this guy has been dyno tuning for like 40 years. He can literally take a phone call and you can tell him like, hey, I'm in a dyno right now and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. and this is what I'm looking at. And he'll be like, okay, go into this screen and tweak this here, this here, this here. Try that. And they'll do all that and do a pass on the dyno, and they'll be like, oh, I'll call him back and be like, that was it. How'd you know that? And he's like, 40 years, man.
Yeah.
But they do, their big thing that kind of put them on the map, if you will, is turbo systems on motorcycles. So they do anywhere. They have like regular production ones that, for the average customer. And then they do custom built one-off bikes. They actually built a FXR that when they cranked it up just to be able to get the pass on it, but it was a 300 horsepower to the rear wheel bike.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. But I was working for them, and I don't know how they got linked up, but this magazine that was based out of Phoenix came in for an interview, and I happened to be there working and met the guys and everything and got to talk with them, and they were there for a couple hours and got to talking to them, and they were like, hey, like, if you ever want to write for us, like, give us a call. We'd love to, whatever, you know.
Cool.
And so I only did a couple articles for them out of the magazine, and it's now changed ownership, and there's a lot of things that have changed, and that particular publication. But it was really cool. I got to write about actually a really good friend of mine who walked across the country. Yeah. He's got a pretty crazy story. So I'll plug him. He's going to love this.
Yeah.
We have to call him later or message him and be like, hey. But my friend Jon, he was in the Marine Corps, did several tours, a lot of deployments, saw some pretty spooky shit, did some pretty spooky shit. Came back, and like a lot of guys had a hard time transitioning back into civilian life.
Sure.
And I don't think, coming from a military family, I grew up with it, right? Like, I don't even think twice about it sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I know what's going on with you. You're having a hard time, right? I get it. The rest of the population that isn't around the military sometimes doesn't quite understand it. So, yeah, Jon was going through a really rough time in his life, and kind of came to that fork in the road, if you will, and had to make a decision. And he was just like, if I keep going down this path, I'm going to end up dead, or I'm going to end up in jail, or I need to make some serious changes. And he literally sold everything that he had, and packed his rucksack, and he set off. And he set off out of Maryland, I believe. It was where he's originally from. And the whole intention of this journey was to go visit some of the Gold Star families from his guys that didn't make it back, see their families. And it turned into this huge healing journey for him in a way.
Of course it did.
And for a lot of other people that he saw on the way. There's actually a documentary on Amazon. So partially through his walk, his story started getting out there, and a couple of people came to him with this idea. They wanted to document his story, and it's actually really profound. You'll laugh, you'll cry. It's one of those. Jon doesn't hold back on emotions. He always says every time he public speaks that if he can get through a speech without crying, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
But yeah, super, super cool dude. Well, I met him when I was living in Rapid City, working for Black Hills Harley Davidson. I was living in there, and I used to bartend at the VFW in the wintertime. And a couple buddies of mine were like, hey, we got this guy that's going to be talking at the VFW tonight. We know you're off, but you really, you need to be there. I'm telling you, you need to be there. Like, I kind of hemmed and hawed, and I'm like, yeah, dude, it's like a Thursday night, man. Like, I'm just going to go home and go to bed. And they're like, no, you need to be there. And so I went and I listened to him, and he just kind of talked about what he was doing and why he was doing it, and they passed a hat.
This is while he was.
This is while he was doing his walk. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I listened to him. They kind of passed a hat. They were doing a little collection just to kind of help him with, supplies and things like that on his journey. And we ended up a bunch of us ended up going out and having some drinks afterwards. And we got to talking, and he was like, your dad was a Marine. We're family, automatic. Like, I don't even care where you're from, who you are, like, you're family. And I was like, all right, dude, I like you. And,
instantly vetted.
And we still, we don't keep in touch nearly as much as we probably should. And sorry, John, but, life happens. And, fast forward years now, and he's married. He's got a 1-year-old, just turned 1-year-old now. And he's got a great relationship with his son that's a little older. And he's doing great. And he's taking all of that momentum, and he started a foundation. And so he's trying to, I don't know, we haven't talked, like I said, we haven't talked in a while, but I know the whole goal of it was to kind of replicate, but on a much smaller scale, of what he did to help other guys. So they're doing these like 4-day hike type things where you're going out and you're putting in the work. They're not easy, but they're doing it. They're spending the time overnight, they're having the hard conversations. And he's like, that's one of the things that really helped him was doing something physical and making yourself be in those emotions and those memories and those thoughts.
I can relate totally.
Working through it,
He just did a big version. Well, and big because of what no doubt was on his mind. And,
right.
Yeah. But what I do, I try to do consistently, once a month or something with my ice adventures, or in the summertime, just getting on a bike,
Right.
but get in your own head.
Right.
Yeah, so he just did that. He pulled a Forrest Gump.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, just started running.
Kinda. Yeah. And he's got some crazy stories. When I sat down and chatted with him to write the article, I was like, we just sat and talked, just kind of like what we're doing. And he told me a story about, I think it was Montana, if I remember correctly. And he said he literally was up for 3 days straight because he was getting stalked by a mountain lion.
Oh.
And so he couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Because, well, there's a mountain lion.
Anyway.
Yeah. So there's some crazy things that happened to him on the road. Great stories about when he met with some of his guys or some of the families and things like that. If you ever want to watch the documentary, it's called Bastards Road on Amazon. I believe it's on Prime. It's phenomenal. I had my husband watch it, and he, not being from a military background, was like, that was profound.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So he was my first article, my first published.
Yeah.
And then I wrote another article about he's kind of trying to make his own path with country music, but another veteran. His name's Ryan Weaver. I think he is just dropping some new stuff lately. He's very pro-America, just extremely patriotic. Another person that happened to just cross paths with and meet at an event for veterans, actually. And yeah, he served, his brother served, and he lost his brother and his brother-in-law, I believe it was, not too shortly thereafter. And yeah, he did his thing and came back and decided this was what he was going to do to continue honoring his legacy and his family, So I did another piece on him. And then ownership changed hands and things happened with the magazine. And so I haven't done it in a while. I still kind of jot things down here and there, but everybody tells me I should write a book one day.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
definitely.
I just don't even, I've thought about it.
I love writing too.
I've thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know how to what direction to take that. There's too much. There's almost too much to try and condense down. I'd have to pick like certain things, or haven't quite worked it out in my head. But
Yeah, just pick one and go, though.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
But it's cool though, because from that relationship with the magazine, I met Jason and Ben. They were the original. Well, Jason was the original OG, if you will, that's kind of started Skill Set magazine, and then Ben was his assistant editor. When ownership changed over and everything, Jason went off and did his own thing. He now has a huge horror themed store. So he's just huge into the horror scene. He's been collecting like oddities, and I mean, he's got everything from, not even kidding you, shrunken heads to props from movies.
Yeah.
And so he's got some of his collectibles in there and things that he's picked up, like a haunted record machine where everybody who listens to this specific record that's on there, this song or whatever it is, every single person has committed suicide.
Oh.
Like the last person that physically owned it before him actually took the needle out of, out of the arm so that it can never be played again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so crazy stuff like that. And then he's just got all these vendors that make cool horror themed stuff. I mean, there's everything from earrings and air fresheners, stickers, your little t-shirts, tchotchke stuff, to actual Ben actually makes these huge bookcases that are shaped like a coffin. Cool things to display your cool stuff on, So they've got this huge space now, and that's what Jason does, and Ben's still doing the magazine thing. And he's doing Ben's all over the place. He's got I always feel like Ben's got 40 projects going on at one time, but it just relationships, man, it's crazy.
I'd have any of those guys on the show. Jon, that would be a conversation.
Yeah. You want to talk about a guy that's got some
come
stories.
on my little old show, but wow.
Yeah. I'll have to see if I can convince him he needs to come up to Sioux
Just
Falls,
put the
South
bug in his
Dakota.
ear.
Yeah.
You got any other reason to be in town?
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He really is.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of crazy,
It's already a cool story, and I know there's sub stories in there like crazy.
Oh my
How could there not be?
gosh.
You just do an average road trip, you get 2 or 3 good stories.
Oh, yeah.
Walk across the country.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, if you watch the documentary, I mean, it talks about it'll talk about different things, before, but it's very much in the moment too. So you'll have scenes of him just walking, and you'll have scenes where he's sitting there talking with one of his guys and they're reminiscing, and I mean, there's one scene in particular that always, you go from literally laughing to almost crying within 30 seconds.
Yeah. Because good storytelling.
I mean, that's just one of those, they're literally sitting there on the guy's back porch. I think they were drinking a beer, having a cigarette, whatever, and they're sitting there laughing, and joking and talking about, I don't even remember. Well, I remember what, but it's too good. I'm going to make you watch it. But they're laughing, and the laughter kind of dies off, and then you watch it, and it's like a light switch, and it just gets real serious real quick. And they're just like, yeah, man, like that was funny, but that's one little blip in the whole experience there. Because from that point forward, it was, he was in Ramadi. So if that gives any indication of the types of things that they shared, it's pretty intensive stuff. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I definitely, you'll have to tell me when you watch it.
Okay.
We'll have a follow-up episode with notes.
Probably tonight.
Yeah. It's good. We probably watch it about once a year still, to be honest. Okay. It's been out for a few years now, and I probably still watch it about once a year just because it's that profound. And there's always something different that you take away from it. Yeah. It's one of those I almost call it like a human interest piece, where it really gets your thoughts provoked. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good to get out of your own little bubble and your own little world and remember that there's a lot bigger stuff going on, So
It's always good to touch base with that.
yeah.
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 Put your little problems in perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I joke around sometimes. First world problems.
Hey, virtual problems, right? Yeah.
But it's true, Everybody's got their shit, if you will, and everybody's
I always
different.
say, don't ask God what else could happen because he'll show you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Don't ask for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the writing thing. I don't know where it really started, to be honest with you, because I always felt like I struggled with it in high school. Like write an English paper on Pride and Prejudice. There's my Catholic school coming out. It's like I always struggled with that so much. Papers in high school, especially English papers, for some reason. Tell me about blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I read the book. Like, read the book. What do you want me to tell you? So I don't really know how it kind of got started. I know when I was in high school, I used to write a lot. It was an outlet for me. Just because I grew up really conservative. I kind of grew up in a bubble in a lot of ways. And so there wasn't really an outlet for me to let out all the stuff that was going on in my own head. Yeah. And I didn't have too many friends in school. I was a white kid in Hawaii. So I was always kind of that awkward wallflower for a while. And I just, I'd sit and jot things down, whether it was how I was feeling or something that happened or, I don't know, goals for myself or things that sometimes I'd just sit down and write out and be like, I don't want to repeat these things, or whatever the case was. And it was just another outlet, kind of like music was for me. Both of those things were positive influences for me.
I like it. It's a time thing, though, for me.
Yeah.
It's, well, when do you have time to write? It's going to be in the evening, and
right.
Am I still sharp enough to do it?
Right.
I wrote a screenplay once and just hustled through it. So 110-page screenplay in 11 days.
Holy cow, that's impressive.
I know people take years to do it. I'm not saying it was good. Not like I can show you my award up here for it. But
yeah, I mean, poetry was a big thing for me for a while. I think I wrote a song once. I got to dig through some boxes and see if I even have some of these notebooks still. But yeah, I mean, that was just, music was a huge thing for me growing up, especially in high school as a teenager, and then even just as an adult. I mean, it's just always been my thing. I mean, to the point where my husband laughs at me because we used to go to the gym together. And when our schedules were a little different, and I had to change my workout playlist because the first month we were doing this and going together, I'd put on some heavy metal rock, just, something to get you motivated and blood pumping and everything. Right. But it got in my head too much because we'd leave the gym and I'd just be like, ah. Right. He's like, okay, I don't know what's going on with you, but you were angry every time we leave the gym. And it's supposed to be releasing this stuff, not exacerbating it. And I was like, so I thought about it and I bet it's the music. I bet it's the music. And so the next week I changed it. I put some old school Snoop on.
Sure.
Went completely different direction, but still gave myself something that had a good bass line and a good beat to it. Yeah. And he is completely different. He's I got in the car when we got done and we were going to get something to eat. And he was like, what did you do different today? I was like, I listened to Snoop Dogg today.
Chilled.
Yeah. A little gin and juice while you're on the cardio.
Yeah, I did the same thing with it's still called my workout playlist, but I'm a classic rock guy. My go-to is classic rock, and
Ted
kind of some
Nugent.
Nugent Stranglehold when I was looking for intro music.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, if I could have my way, I would have Ted write a little something and have it be kind of Strangleholdy.
Yeah.
But then I started picking up some. Well, I learned this from my brother Jon when we were dirt biking really hard and way into it. We had tunes in our helmets and my playlist right away. It was the same thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "But don't forget to throw some chill stuff in there."
Right.
And,
Right.
and it's really cool to just be whooping ass on a dirt bike with some really
Like obscure.
cash, just chill music going. The contrast is cool.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of
I
fun.
do it on the bike now. When I started riding, the first week I had my first bike, I found myself overthinking everything I was doing. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
clutch,
Yeah.
shift, let the clutch out, roll on the throttle. Like I was thinking so much about what I was doing that I was really choppy with everything. And I was jerky with everything, with shifting, with maneuvering. And I was like, took it back to music. I'm like, it was always my thing. Like when I was in high school, you know, had a hard time focusing. If I was studying, put some music on, dialed right in. It was always even just that little bit of background. I don't know what it is. If it's just a constant that keeps one part of the brain going so the other part of the brain can relax. I don't know. But I tried it. And I got a lot of pushback from a lot of friends that were like, "That's dangerous. You shouldn't be listening to music while you ride," and da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, but I ride so much better when it's there.
I love it. You get just riding to a soundtrack. And
oh, yeah. And
so it's the same playlist I play when I ride now. I just pull that up. And it's got everything from Simon and Garfunkel to Primus. And it's kind of just everything in between. But
my husband
I wonder what
laughs.
people think when I pull up to a light and I'm all Harley'd out and I got KC and the Sunshine Band on. and then Clay, you've met Clay. He pulls up next to me one day and he's got that my boogie shoes.
Yep.
Like I got that too.
Yeah. My husband laughs because we'll pull up at a light and he doesn't do the music thing on the bike.
Yeah.
And you know, so I'll be sitting there jamming out in my helmet and he'll look over at me and he'll be like, or we'll stop for lunch or something. He'll be like, "What the heck were you listening to?" I was like, "Oh, I went from Metallica to Taylor Swift to to Simon and Garfunkel to And he's like, "Well, you were having a good old time because you were like halfway dancing on your bike halfway here."
Oh yeah. I'll be doing the overhead clap sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun.
I'm waiting.
It changes it.
I'm waiting for the day, and it'll probably never happen because nobody can hear what I'm listening to. But have you seen the video of the guy on the road glide? He's on like a red road glide. I think he's down south somewhere. And big old black guy, right? Blaring Taylor Swift. He is stopped at a light. This dude's in he must be at a rally or something because he's in like shorts, flip flops, t-shirt, sunglasses on, no helmet, and he's got Taylor Swift cranked up to 100, and this dude is jamming out. I mean, singing, dancing around on his bike, you know, just having the time of his life. And then the light turns green and he takes off on his bike and he's still like singing at the top of his lungs and he's weaving the bike around to the music. And I'm like, that's me.
When I found that for dirt biking, it turned dirt biking. It was fun and exciting and physical. And all of that, and then you add tunes to it and all your favorite stuff, and all of a sudden it's a Yamaha commercial.
Right.
Yeah, the whole time it's just like, wow, there should be cameras on me right now.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you play music as well?
Used to. Always wanted to learn piano and guitar. Never did. Always wanted to. I was a band kid and a choir kid. Choir probably would have been a lot more. But whatever year it was, 7th grade, I think it was. but I think the school I was in didn't have a choir. So my parents were like, well, then you're going to take band instead and you learn an instrument. And I'm like, okay. So then, of course, you go into band and you're like, you want to play the cool stuff, Oh, I got stuck with clarinet.
Sure, yeah. I got baritone.
No, okay. I feel your pain.
Oh, boring.
Yeah.
Only cool thing was that big ass case had those little steel feet on it. And then I'm living in Minnesota.
Right.
So crossing the hockey rink
Was probably a lot of fun.
Yeah. I could ride that thing all the way across the rink. The only thing I liked about baritone.
Yeah. Kind of got stuck with it. So I did it through middle school and then all the way through my junior year of high school. Marching band, concert band, the whole nine. And I would say I enjoyed it, but there is everywhere in high school, there's politics, right? And so going into my senior year, it was like I could outplay half the people in my section, most of the people in my section. Heck, I had even at one point, I think it was the summer between my sophomore and junior year, I hounded the band teacher because I wanted to learn another instrument. I'm like, you don't have to you don't have to let me play it in class. You don't have to let me play it at performances. I just want to learn something new.
Good for you.
And he just was so against it for whatever reason. And finally he was like, fine, here's one of the class flutes. Take it for the summer. See what here's a couple of the intro books, whatever, do your thing. And I literally taught myself how to play the flute.
Right on.
Out of intro to flute music books, basically. And so I asked him if I could keep it for the rest of the year. And I think I kept it for the first semester of junior year. And every song that we would get, I'd get flute music for. And so I was learning both instruments. I was only playing the clarinet at school. But I'd go home, and once I mastered the clarinet for whatever we were doing, I'd switch over to flute and teach myself that. So, I learned 2 instruments, I guess.
Good for you. That's I'm always impressed with that. Band for me was like a lot of classes. I was just shooting for that D so I could move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Choir was more my passion. Definitely. Choir.
That intimidated the hell out of me.
And dance. I danced for a lot of years. But choir, singing was always kind of, again, that outlet, that connection to music, whatever it was. I honestly can't even remember the first time I remember singing. It's something my dad and I share. I mean, a lot of my childhood memories, like good memories with dad, are listening to my dad sing and play the guitar in the living room. And it was usually like one of 3 James Taylor songs that he knows, but I to this day hear James Taylor and I think about my dad, going junior year into senior year, just no section leader, no drum major, no nothing. And I was like, well, then what the heck have I been working for the last 3 years? And just wasn't really getting any opportunities in class. And so I told my parents, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun anymore. I feel extremely discouraged because, again, what was the last 3 years for, And I'm like, well, you have to do something. I said, just let me do choir. It's what I love to do. So let me do choir. And it turned out to be the coolest thing ever because my senior year of high school, my choir got accepted into a national choir. And 4 days after I graduated high school, we were all on a plane to New York City. And I got to sing in Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
In the top 5 coolest things I think I've ever done in my entire life. We spent a whole week in New York. I got to sing at, I think it's St. Patrick's Cathedral. That was another, you want to talk about, just goosebumps. Yeah, amazing. Got to experience a lot of cool things while we were there. But yeah, I mean, Carnegie Hall, I remember walking out onto the stage to do our dress rehearsal. And they had the curtains closed. And so we all walk up, and you figure there's like 500 of us in this choir, because there's choirs from all over the country that came together to do this. And so we all get up on the stage, and they open the curtains, and the music starts. And I just was like, oh, I literally didn't sing a single note of dress rehearsal, because I was just in that moment, right? You're just profound. You're like, how many people have stood on this stage, and done this?
That's how I would have been in the classroom, though. My singing is hit or miss, mostly miss. And I always say the difference between me and a bad singer is I know when I'm singing bad. I know when I'm singing poorly.
Yeah, and I kind of let it go for a while, and I don't know. It's a muscle, right? So when you don't use it,
right,
you lose it. And so my range definitely isn't what it used to be. I mean, I used to be able to carry from like high men's octaves to pretty dang close to Mariah Carey notes there for a little while.
Yeah.
But
and that changes over the years,
right?
Even for professionals,
right?
In the game for a long time, your voice changes.
Yeah. So now it's car and shower singing.
Yeah. My steering wheel is my best audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So travel.
Yes.
You've been around.
I have been around. I actually need to.
Military girl.
Yeah. I've moved 16 times in my life. Wait. It might be 17 now. 16 or 17, somewhere in there. Yeah. I've lived on the East Coast. I've lived on the West Coast. Obviously, I've lived in the Midwest now. Hawaii. That was actually the longest place we lived. It's crazy. And a lot of those moves we drove. It was mom and dad were like, okay, we got to move and we got to go across country. So we're cashing in dad's vacation time, and the move plus vacation time is our family vacation this year, guys. That's it. And we road tripped it a lot. And I've obviously in my moves as an adult have done the same thing. And it's something my husband and I actually have decided we're going to start doing this year, hopefully, as long as all the ducks line up. Is he likes to travel too, and the older I get, the less I like to fly. Like it really, like I really dislike it these days. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the experience itself, or if I feel like I'm just surrounded by the people of Walmart every time I fly, or what.
Yeah,
but I just
can't get away from that now.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be. I feel like flying used to be a classy thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And now
the
it's
service and the people, and the way people would dress and act.
Right. I mean, people had manners. It's like now, it's all of that's gone out the window, and
now you're just climbing into a big steel locker room.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually had an experience like that on a flight one time out of North Dakota. I got on the plane, and the entire rest of the plane was like the college hockey team or something. And I was just like, oh God, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's too early for this. Yeah. Although I will say they were all really cool, and they weren't rowdy, and they all it was 5 o'clock in the morning. So they all pretty much put their headphones on and, did their own thing. But no, so we've talked about our vacations are going to be road trips. And so this year, fingers crossed, everything works. Hoping end of April, beginning of May, we're going to try and squeeze a week-long trip in there. And I got a grandma in Washington that I haven't seen in a long time. And my husband's never been to Washington. He's never been to the northern West Coast. He's been to the LA area, San Diego area, and California, but he's never been north of there. And so we were talking about flying, And then we started talking about it more and looking at the expense of, okay, flying 2 people plus a week's long rental car, plus this, plus that. And it's like, okay, I'm already up to $5,000. He goes, well, what if we drove it? And so I was like, well, hang on, let me map some things out. And it's like, oh yeah, we can get there in 2 days driving. We'll spend 2 days with grandma. We'll kill a day. We're going to go do the Olympic Peninsula. So check out the rainforest, there's black sand beaches out there. It's part of Washington I've never seen before, so I'm pretty excited about it. And then we're going to make our way back. And on the way back, we're actually going to take Highway 2. So we're not going to take the interstate. We're going to go up into northern Idaho and hit like Coeur d'Alene and Bonner's Ferry, drop down into Kalispell, Montana, and kind of make our way taking 2-lane on the way back and just scenery.
It's the way to do it.
You know?
I love road tripping.
Yeah. He's like, I'd rather road trip and spend the time in a vehicle where at least I can see. I mean, we're going to check off part of Montana that neither one of us has seen. We're going to check out a part of Idaho neither one of us has seen. Yeah. You know, he's going to get to see Washington. I'm going to get to see a part of Washington I've never seen before, you know.
Yeah. It's the way to do it, man.
We might even get to play with some reindeer on our way, too.
Yeah. So, I said that during COVID, and try not to get political here, but that whole flying restrictions and pushes for jabs and crap. I'm like telling people, if you haven't even seen your own country, I'll guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yeah, get in your car, go. Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
I mean...
And road trips, some of the best stories.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I have made the trip from Arizona to either North Dakota or South Dakota. I can't tell you how many times now. Between just going back to visit my folks or going from Phoenix up to Rapid City to work the rally, whatever it was. And after about the second or third trip I did, I'm like, I'm not doing this I-40 25 nonsense anymore. So every time I planned a different route. You know, I've been through Four Corners. I've been through Durango, Colorado, and Farmington, New Mexico area. I went through Moab one time, which, by the way, if you ever go through Moab, make sure if you're going to order a beer, you're at an establishment that serves beer.
Yep.
Didn't know that.
Been there, yes.
Was with a buddy of mine. We were coming back from working the rally. He had to make a turn and burn trip back. So he's like, can I just ride back with you? I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem, man. This is the route I'm taking. You cool with that? He goes, as long as we get back in 2 days, I'm good. I'm like, okay, cool. So we made it all the way from Rapid City to Moab, stopped for the night, and we're like exhausted, right? I mean, we just drove like, I don't know, 13 hours or some nonsense.
Been in the exact same situation.
After working the rally, you know, for a week straight. And so we're just like on fumes. We get into this little motel I found, which is super cool. Checked in, dropped our stuff off, and we're like, all right, food. And he's like, this place looks good, cool, little Mexican joint. All right. I'm like, yeah, I just want some enchiladas and a friggin' margarita, man.
Yeah.
And so we go in and we sit down and everything, and I'm looking and I don't really see, like, I don't even see like non-alcoholic drinks, right? So I'm just like, okay, they don't have their drinks posted. And so we sit down and this young lady comes over and, what can I get you to drink? And I said, yeah, what kind of tequila do you have for margaritas? And it was like I was the devil speaking. And I was, we don't serve alcohol here. Okay, no problem. I'll just take a water or whatever it was. And I mean, she got like visibly uncomfortable. And my buddy's sitting across from me and he is trying to not laugh out loud. And she walks away and he goes, I forgot we're in Utah. I was like, ooh. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I did that too.
I was like, whoops. Sorry, I did not mean to offend you.
Same deal for me on a leg of a road trip, and I was just beat. And I'm not a beer guy. Yeah. Hard liquor, cocktails, yeah, but
yeah.
I just wanted a beer, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Cold beer. I went out. Yeah, good luck. I couldn't even get that. It's like, come on.
Well, and it wasn't like the town was
It's like it
dry.
happens once a year for me
Right?
that I want a cold beer and I'm in Utah.
Yeah.
We were
crazy.
road tripping, well, Harley ride. So 50th anniversary Sturgis from Laguna Beach to Sturgis.
Yeah.
And we got pulled over. I don't remember why, but in Utah. And so we all get off our bikes. I'm riding 3 shovels and I had an Evo.
Nice.
And so I was leading most of the time, and I actually got good at replacing flyweights on a shovel.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I didn't even own one. I still haven't owned one. But yeah, we got pulled over, and my brother, this is so him, the highway patrolman, it was like, well, I hear it's okay to drink and drive here as long as you're not intoxicated. And the guy's like, yeah, and we're standing on the side of the road. Somebody's getting a ticket. I don't remember who or what it was, probably speeding.
Yeah.
And he just reaches in, digs into his saddlebags, and whips out some Jim Beam in front of the highway patrolman. Just takes a big hit off of it. It's like his pre-cell phone, so
Right.
I would have loved to have had that.
Oh, yeah.
The other guy's like, what are you doing? It's like, he just told me it's illegal. That's how he rolled.
Hey.
Yeah.
How many saddlebags we used to see with holes drilled in the bottom of the bag during Sturgis?
Yeah, that's your beer bag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was one of my mentors in riding. He was totally old school. And ended up crashing and dying on his bike. But yeah, he had his one with the holes in the bag. Leather bags even. Just throw throw the ice right in
Yep.
there. And little puddle at every
Yep.
stoplight. And
Yeah.
yeah, he was one where we were at, you know how every little town has its reason for a summer party and
Yeah.
street dance and stuff,
Yeah.
whether it's corn husking days or chicken plucking days or whatever. You just got to have an excuse. Ours was a catfish contest, catfish derby days.
Yeah.
And staying a mile out of town at my buddy's farm place, which was total party pad. It was like Animal House. And music was done and stuff. And all of a sudden the place just shut down. And I'm looking around for my friends, my posse.
Yeah.
I'm all alone. And then there's Kurt, old school biker guy, and with his long hair and stuff. I'm like, Kurt. And it's really close to Kurt. And Kurt, give me a ride back to Lonnie's house. And, no way. It's like old school. There's dudes
Yeah.
on your bike.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I'm
Yeah.
like, come on. And it's like mile and a half away. And
Right.
It's like, no dudes on my bike. And then he's like, all right, meet me in the alley behind the depot. You get out. So I had to go out back in the dark. It felt like a drug deal. And I get on his bike. And Lonnie had this long driveway. And yeah, wouldn't even take me all the way up the driveway. He pulled off the highway and made me get off and walk
That's
up.
funny.
Old school.
You know, it's kind of funny that you talk about that, though, because here, you know, it's pretty frowned upon, right? You know, dudes on the back of another dude's bike,
Yeah.
right? It's, you know, all masculine and
Yeah,
this and that and the other. And when I was working in Arizona at one of the dealerships down there, we had a rental department, and we used to get people from other countries all the time. And we used to get this group of people in from, I think it was like France or something like that. And they came every year, same group of people. And there was 2 or 3 pairs of dudes that would pair up on motorcycles. And I talked to them one time, and I was like, they weren't gay. Straight up, straight dudes. They were like, no, this is like, you know, my brother, or this is, you know, my best friend since I was like 5, you know. Like, what do you mean that's weird? I'm like, what do you mean it's not weird? You know? And they're like, you Americans. And I'm like, okay, well, explain to me. And they're like, yeah, man, like, we don't think about stuff like that the way you guys think about it. You know, it's just, that's my buddy. And, you know, I don't ride, but he does. And so we do this all the time at home. so that's how we planned our trip. You know, we didn't actually realize that it was a thing here until the first time we came here. And they're like, and now we just, you know, sometimes we play it up a little bit and mess with people and we have a good time with it and whatever. But it's kind of crazy how different things are in different parts of the world, you know?
Yeah, I had some German friends come visit in California, and they were really they wanted to shoot. And so between my brother and I, we had this arsenal. And so I sat down with them the night before, and I had an example of all the ammunition out. And I was going through it, and I was just saying, you know, you just decide which one you're excited to shoot. And you just buy the ammo as much as you want, and we go out in the desert and just have at it.
Yeah.
And one was even a cop. But they're stingy over there about how you get to carry even as a cop. So it's shooting day. Next day, we get out to the desert. On the way, we stop at this big ammo shop. And I'm just like filling my basket. I know what I'm going to shoot today. Right. And I brought everything, you know, multiple gauges of shotguns and pistols and rifles and all this stuff. It explained it all to them. And then they're just doing nothing and looking really sheepish. And even the cop, I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we can just buy this like a candy bar? Like, yep. You can.
Welcome to America.
And then all of a sudden the baskets start getting filled. Like, sure you don't want to shoot that pistol?
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, I want to shoot that. It's right here.
It's funny you bring this up because that's actually it was my husband's thing before he met me was summer was riding, winter is shooting. Oh, yeah. And we didn't really do it the first 2 winters we were together because we didn't live anywhere that had an indoor range. And so we've started doing that this winter. And I was a little nervous the first time we went in because I carry, but I was not shooting on a regular basis. It had probably been at least 5 years. And just one of those things that I always thought about, I gotta do that, and just never had the time or made the time rather to do it. And I hate pulling this card, but at the same time, it is a little intimidating being a female walking into a range or a gun store by yourself. Because I've had some not great experiences where, okay, little lady, you need a revolver.
It can be for anyone, and I'm like, by the way.
You know.
You got the know-it-all judgmental guys.
You know, it's just... And I never really had somebody that I could trust to go with me, you know, too. And so it always kind of shied me away from it. And now that I'm married and my husband's definitely a gun nut, way more well-versed than I am. I'm like, I know what I have and what I shoot, and that's about it. But that's become our thing. And I remember the first time we went this winter, I pulled out my 9mm that I carry and put some lead down range, and I pulled the target back up, and he was like, how long has it been since you shot? I'm like, I don't know, at least 5 years. And he's like, are you freaking kidding me? So, yeah, I mean, we go every Sunday now. Oh, good. Yep. And they're usually about a half hour. Alliance down on, was that Russell? They were running a special when we went in to go check it out. And you got the price of a couple's membership for a single. So, and it's for a whole year. It's indoor. You know, all the proceeds it's a whole veterans facility. So all the proceeds go right back into the veteran community, which is, you know, kind of close to my heart. So, but super cool guys in there, and it's always clean. It's well ventilated. It's well lit. I've been into some indoor ranges where it's like a dungeon, and it's not like that at all. Really good environment, and they stay on top of it too. I mean, they're in there watching it, and if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do, they're on it. Yeah, you know, so it's nice. And so
the only thing I don't like about a range is that you got rules, and they're there for a reason, and everybody should follow them. But get me out in the desert where I can screw around a little bit. It's kind of
I am kind of looking for it. So I bought my first rifle, which was super exciting.
What'd you get?
I got an AR-15 by Stag Arms. We happened to be in Shields a couple months ago, and we were actually, my husband wanted to pick up another AR-15, and so we were kind of looking at him, and then somehow the conversation morphed while we were in the store. And he was like, well, we don't have a rifle for you. And he was like, not that we're really hunters or anything. I've never been hunting. It's not really his thing anymore. We've thought about it, and he's like, look, if things happen and we got to open the gun safe for real, it's like, I want to know if you can handle holding a rifle and taking care of business. And I'm like, okay. Well, it's been at least 10 years since I've shot anything bigger than a handgun. So I have no idea. And so we're sitting there, and he's educating me on, okay, 22 versus 223, 5.56. He's like, we're definitely not even going to touch a 308. And I was like, no, I heard that last week at the range. I don't want to be anywhere near that. I don't want any part of that. I mean, he took his 308 to the range, and I was standing a good probably, I don't know, 5-10 feet behind him, and the percussion off of it was moving my hair. And I was like, yeah, no, that. Yeah, I'm bark. Good on that. And so we were there, and great experience with one of the guys that works there. He came up, said, hey, can I help you with anything? And my husband just went right into it. And it's like, hey, we're looking for her first rifle. She's kind of leaning towards 22 because she's a little nervous, And so we got to talking, and he started showing me different stuff. And he's like, look, you can handle a 22. He's like, I promise you can handle a 223 5.56. I'm like, all right, okay. And so we started looking at them, and yeah, I picked out what felt right, and took a class.
Not a lot of recoil
at the range.
Let's go. Can you bring a guest?
And actually, I can.
There you go.
We can take.
I'll bring suppressors.
Yeah,
we'll shoot suppressed.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, we'll have to line that up. We usually go about 3:30 on Sunday afternoons. It's kind of our slot. Seems to be like right in the change between the people that are trying to squeeze in time before they close and like the afternoon post lunch rush. It's like that sweet spot in the afternoon. Yeah, so good. It's usually not too busy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it took with our membership there, you get so many, like 2 or 3 sessions you can do, private sessions or whatever. And I looked at my husband and said, okay, no offense to you, but first rifle I've ever owned. I want to do this right. I want to make sure I'm not picking up any bad habits that you might have picked up along the way, and he goes, nope, it's always better for you to learn from somebody else. So yeah, I mean, I sat down with one of the guys there, and we took it from the basics. I mean, I broke it all the way down. That's how you do it. Put it back together. And I need a little bit of practice with it, but I'm still pretty decent cluster there. Yeah. So, I mean, the guy was like, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. He's like, because then he was like showing me, he's like, okay, so take your cluster like this off your paper. And he's like, that's a heart. Yeah. He's like, you're good. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I was like, well, all right. So yeah, that's kind of become our thing.
That's awesome. A fun thing.
So my husband
with the now ex-wife we were back in Minnesota, we went for concealed permit, which you have to do there. But we got into that class, and it's, I dominated my gun safety class when I was 11.
Right.
So it's like, this is kind of a no-thinker. But yeah, she got up to shoot. So it's the shooting part of the class, which is at the end after you pass all the
written classroom.
Yeah, that crap.
Yeah.
And you get out and you shoot. And she was up first, and she had my Beretta, which I trained her on. And it happened to be what the military was still carrying. And so she had to pass with that. And she shot expert, but yeah, she's up there shooting, and the guy next to me is like, she's the best one in the class. I said, I haven't gone yet. And he just cocky.
That's funny.
Yeah. And are you better? I said, I taught her.
Right.
And that's my God.
Right.
And that thing traveled with me for years and years. I bought that back in like 85. And
Yeah.
it's been on a lot of nightstands and motel rooms and stuff. And
Yep. Yeah, I started with one, and then I had two. I had two when I got married. Now between what he has and what I have, and we had to buy another safe this year.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because, I picked up a rifle. He picked up a shotgun. We've picked up a couple of different handguns this year, and just versatility of different things. And, it's funny because we go to the range and they're like, so how'd you guys do? Who shot better? And he's always like, she's better. She's a better shot. And I'm like, yeah, but you've shot more than me. And he goes, yeah, but if you look at our paper, honey, he's like, whether it's handgun, he says, it's pretty rare that you're all over the paper. He's like, you're pretty dialed in. Like, he's like, me on the other hand, he's like, yeah, I might get 3 or 4 in a little cluster. He's like, you can land damn near a whole magazine in a cluster if you want to, if you really are on your game. And I'm like, I don't know how I do it. I just do it.
Yeah. Women have a good trigger pull. It's smooth.
Yeah.
They're, by the way, good equipment operators too. You get in something like a road grader, and guys want to get in and drive it.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's all
Finesse.
hydraulic. It's just subtle moves. But in the military training on a M60, and probably 6 or 7 of us on the line, full auto. It's been around forever, and it goes bop, 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 about that fast, and shooting 5-round bursts. And the only one that competed with me that day was this tiny woman, and she was like badass, just cold trigger pull. And this was Fort Carson, I think we were at Fort Carson, out in the desert in Colorado, high desert.
Yep.
And somebody says, coyote. And way down range, it was 300 yards out, this coyote's crossing. And I used to do a lot of coyote hunting. And all those people on the line, and all you hear from the instructor is, Nelson, no. I mean, it's true. I wanted to light him up.
You're like, oh, come on. Yeah, it's been interesting. We're going to see, I think maybe this summer we might try and go up to Webster, where my husband's from, because his mom still lives up there on the farm, and we might try and get a little outdoor time in.
Yeah.
So
that's more fun.
Oh, yeah.
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 I don't want to say screw around, but kind of. Bring some tannerite out. It's always a fun part of the deal.
I don't know if she would appreciate that, but
we might want to get the okay, but that's fun.
Yeah.
I've got to get it out of my system, and got a mag dump a couple of times to get it out of my system.
Yep.
That's my nickname on my Costco card, by the way.
Mag dump.
Yeah, so if I write a check, the managers come over. But when you're getting your card, you're applying. They say, "Do you have a nickname?"
I didn't know
they're
that.
expecting Jim,
right?
And they'll put Jim on your card. And I'm like, well, they call me Mag Dump. She's just like, what? Had no idea what that was. But
that's hilarious.
It's on my card.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I've gotten. At first, I was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna get. I know how I get, and sometimes it's like routine is on the weekends. It's like, okay, it's getting monotonous. I want to do something different, So I was thinking that there was going to be, after a month or two, I was going to be like, you go to the range. I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z. I'll meet you. No, because we get in there and I'm just like, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And husband's the same way. He's like, yeah, if I don't get that, he can skip about a week or two in the wintertime. He's like, but if I don't if I don't go do it, he's like, it's almost like not riding in the summertime. He's like,
No
this
kidding.
starts to get just, yeah. It's like, it's that, I don't know what it is, putting lead down range. And
That's therapeutic.
yeah, it is. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Well, I know you got a thing after this.
Yeah. So
Thanks for coming in.
absolutely anytime, man.
Always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We segued a lot of different things today.
Yeah. It wasn't just bikes.
Motorcycles, I know. We touched on it, but I didn't get carried away on motorcycles this time, which is good.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with all the new stuff.
Well, always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, man.
All right.
All right.